Hi, Pete from Record again. In this short video I'm going to take you through our upgrade kit, SABRE fence upgrade fit, which is able to be fitted to BS400, 350 and BS400. So you can now buy a kit that will upgrade you to the same type of fence that it's fitted to our SABRE bandsaws, SABRE 350, 450, and a little bit more. So you get the standard fence. What to note on this is also it's got some wipers underneath, so that just makes it a lot smoother to transfer across the table, so you don't get that little click noise now and then as you're just going over the joint. So that's a nice little feature. They're only thin little wipers and they've got a grub screw in there, so you can undo that to take them out either end. When you lock them up, don't lock them up really tight. They don't need it, because this is only a thin section here, so what you don't want to do is rip the thread. No need to. Just pinch them up, that's enough. So because you can move it over and do some sheet work like that. Now what comes with these fences is both sizes. So you've got this one, which is more applicable really for the BS400. With this one for 350 and the 400, sorry, it's fine. You'll get good use out of that. But maybe with the BS400, that's going to be too big. So it's included in the kit is the smaller one. Each has their own rip bar, so that's on both of the units. So that's to give you a bit of help when you're doing some ripping. Maybe a little bit unwavy, and you can mark it out and help you do the job. You can transfer it along the bar and set it up as you want it. Also, with the if you're fitting this fence to a standard BS 350 like this one, when you want to do some sheet work, you've restricted your cut, so you've lost some of the cut. So what you can do is introduce that one, and you get some of that extra cut back off the sheet. So that's maybe a useful tool. So coming to fit it, we've now given you in that kit a bar that covers the whole length of the table, rather than the shorter one that was on the before, which was good. But if you wanted to work from one side to the other, if you were tilting your table, you had to transfer it over and do your settings again. It's not that hard to do, it's just awkward, it's time consuming, and this makes the whole application a lot easier. The thing to note on this, the old one, I've taken off my BS350 here, is the studs are 8mm. So the new studs on your new bar, these are 10mm. So what you may need to do, they fit at the moment, they go into the holes okay. Those are the previous holes, but there's not a lot of movement if you need to just refine the settings. So if you're careful, you can open these up. It's cast iron, so it's quite free cutting, and there's no webs behind, so you're going to be able to drill through easily. I used a little spirit level on mine, or if you've got somebody that give you a hand, just line it up so as it's square, just by eye off the drill, and just put a bigger size drill through. You might not need it, but it might be it's useful for you. So the BS350 here, in the last video I basically showed you how to square the table off with the fence and then readjust it to suit the table by moving it one way or the other. Now with the SABRE, the fence rail, the bracket that actually carries the fence, is a different setup altogether. So what you've got here is your lock for your carrier moving it along, you've got your location for your fence, and also you've got this keyway here. Now this keyway has got a cam on there, So what you can do is rise and lower the fence. So you can move it in and out, and then you can lock the position. Whereas before I had to tweak the fence to get this aligned, once this is on, I got the cam here so I can move it one way or the other to get my refinements. So it's a lot easier to do. But also when I've got the bar on, what I can do is move that across there, undo this fitting here and transfer it to this side. So just basically undoing that nub, moving that to there, then that bracket's there, this is back to front as such. Fence is on this side. Now I can tilt my table, move the fence to wherever I want. I've got good support, so a nice little feature. Just makes the machine a little bit more easier, and those nice refinements make the job simpler to do. Same as before, we're looking for the table square to the blade, and we adjust the stop underneath so we can set that up, true that up. Now this has already been squared off, so I'm in the ballpark anyway. But if you're setting up from new, maybe a SABRE 350 or any of the other machines with that type of fence on it, the thing we're looking to do now is again find a parallel tuff, and I've got a wider blade fitted this time. I've got a 5/8 blade fitted on it, so it makes it a little bit easier for the alignment. So on the SABRE 350, this fence, this face here and the back faces, they're all been machined. It's only on the front faces really, the standard 350 and the other machines are machined. So what I do in this instance is off my T-slot here, I'm looking for a measurement to square it up, so I can undo the bolts again underneath, the 4 carrier bolts, and I'm looking for, in this instance, is 134. I don't know I'm going to be right because I've already set it up, so it's 134. So I know the table is now square to the blade. So all I've got to do now is introduce the fence rail and then do my refinements off the cam off the fence itself, so it's a lot easier to set up. So once that's locked up underneath, that's going nowhere. Same position here, the blade is central for the table insert. That's a lot of people get, like I say, get that wrong and the blade's rubbing on one side and the other. It's only because of that's in the wrong location. He just wants one way or the other and try and centralise it off there. So coming to fit the rail, again with the studs, make sure they're nicely locked in. What you don't want to be doing is doing your refinements and the studs are loose. So make sure those are nicely locked in there. And when I set the BS400 up, I allowed myself a little bit more thread showing up on the shafts to do the alignment of the fence rail to the T-slots. It's not so critical on this one. All I'm basically looking for is to get that right to the, almost to the end of the thread itself, and just leave a small gap. So maybe I've just got a millimetre or so there. Put the washers on and introduce that into there. I'll tell you what I will do, just to make this a little bit easier now, is to actually take the blade off. I'll probably detension it. I've got the machine unplugged again, so I'll take my tension off, drop the tool arm down to about the central position of the wheel, just makes it a little bit easier, and take the blade off from the top. It was a little bit extra fun taking the big blade off, but should come out. And just release my strap. Put that out of the way. wider blade, you just got to take your time and move it out. So that's ready to hang up. I always hang the wider blades up out the way. What you find is on some of the wider blades as well, they're quite a thicker section. So I tend not to reduce them in size, because what you can do on the wider blades themselves is actually kink it, and then you've got that, it'll still cut, but it's just got that kicking noise as it goes through, because the wider the section of the material, usually the thicker the material is as well, so you haven't got that flex in there like you can do with the smaller blades. Are a lot easier to wrap up. So if you've got the space, hang it on the wall or something like that. Just put the teeth inwards so as they don't catch you if you rub past it. So first of all, just put those in. So washer on the in face. Right. So just pinch those up with your fingers for starters. You need a 16mm spanner, and a rule, and a square. So the reason I took the blade off is so as I've got access to moving the fence all the way across the table. So bearing in mind what I've said before, your bandsaw, to get the best out of your bandsaw, you just think it was in straight lines. You're just going in straight lines. That's why we say square the blade up to the table. You can even square it up to the back, because you can adjust the trunnions. So as if you're doing like tenons and stuff like that, you want it obviously as true as you possibly can. So you can tweak the table. So if it is a little bit out for whatever reason, you can adjust it. But in the first instance, we're looking for the table to be square to your blade. So with the bracket, this can now slide on. And we'll introduce the actual fence itself. So to start with, I'm just going to put in the stack cam roughly about in the centre. Slide that through. Because you've got wipers on there, you've got a little gap underneath, a couple of mil. So what in the first instance I'm looking for is to repeat that here as well. So I want that up a touch, I want just a little gap underneath there to match what I've got on there. So I'm going to look to get those about equal. So roughly around about 2 mil, something like that. So just a small gap underneath there and there. That's where the wiper's situated. So in the first instance, we've got to fit it on, and I'm going to take it to the end, look for that gap, and I'm up a little bit here. So what I can do is either take it down on that side or drop it down on this side. So I'm just looking to maintain that gap through there, roughly around about 2 millimeters, something like that. Just start pinching this up a little bit and moving it through. So the wiper does make it a nicer, smoother operating job. So now I've got that mounted onto there, I'm going to look to repeat what I've got here. I've got my square so I can check it's square against the fence. So I can move this bar either way now, so as I can maintain that gap there and just the same along here. So I'm looking for a reading here, which is 46mm at the moment. And I've got a little bit more on, less on this side. I've got 48 on there, so I can move that roughly there. But more importantly, once I know this is right, I can get a size over the top of the bar here. So if I bring my square off the bed, I can take a measurement from there, and the same on this end. So I want to start here first. So at the moment I've got 10mm there, so I'm going to set this up roughly the same here. In fact, what I'll do is I'll put a little pinch on there and check this off. So I've got about 14, so I can come up a little bit on there. A bit too much. Yeah, just a little bit higher. So I want to bring that down just a touch. That's moved it too much. So I'm getting there. So you can see this is a lot easier to do, and also you can do something to a register. It doesn't have to be exact. It's just getting you in the ballpark. So this is parallel. It's not looking too low or too much of a gap here. That's too high. So we're trying to maintain an even gap through there, just so as this slides through nice and smoothly. And within a few moments, I've already started. I'm nearly there, sort of thing. So it's just, as I could say, taking the measurements off there, so as you know that the height to there, same on there, and a rough gap here. Don't get too hung up about the gap here. As long as it's reasonably in the same area, it doesn't really matter. Because the nice thing about this, and you might see it now, it's because I've got the cam action on here, I can move the fence. You guys can see that. So what I'm looking for is that to be parallel into there. And if you remember what I said on the last setup, because you've got such a long fence, it doesn't hurt to have a little negative here. Really, like I say, if you rub your nail down there, it's parallel, and all you're looking for is you just basically just scratch it there, and that all that says is that's on a slight negative, because the fence is giving you support through the cut, but once you pass the teeth, this is just a support. If it's pointing that way, then you're going to get back cuts onto your material, get those marks in there. The timber wants to open out naturally anyway, because the stress has gone out of the original piece that you're putting through there, so it's done a cut, so it's naturally going to relax a little bit. It's just going to open out a little bit. So like I say, on this you've got your cam action on there, so I'm looking for that gap under there, so this is moving along nice and smoothly now. So, and what I've got on there, this should be there or thereabouts parallel now. So I've got roughly 12mm there. Just about the same there as well, so that's okay. So carefully now, just let these bolts try not to move anything. It's tight. I'm only using this spanner in here because these are quite large nuts. Just make sure it's all nice pinched up. So I'm okay with that. So I've got a small gap under there because of the wipers. I've got the cam action on here as I showed you, so as I can do my final settings. And this is great when you've got a bit of lead on your blade or something like that, and you can adjust it. With the other models you can still do it, but this is just a little bit more friendly to use. So again in there you can pinch it up, do your final settings, hold the cam and lock it off. So nice and easy. And the nice thing about this is, as I said, because of the design of the bar and its way it's situated, take the lock off there, take that out. All I'm on doing is undoing this one, transferring that to there, and back through there. Now your wipers underneath, you've got two wipers either end. So I should have the same position again with reversing the fence. Take some of the slack out with that one first. Take it to my T-slot. Not quite on the full lock. What I want to be able to do is balance that movement up. Again, I'm setting off the T-slot because I've set that parallel to the blade. And we're now set up. So if I wanted to now tilt my table, I can tilt the table to whatever degree I want to. And now I've got the benefit of that fence being able to be used on that side of the blade, and I'm locked off. So really nice, secure, good sized fence on there, so I can do whatever application I want with ease and safely as well. So the latest little thing that we've done. So this, like I said, you can use it for the BS300, BS350, BS400, and like I say, on the BS300 this is probably more of use. That's supplied with it anyway, but it doesn't leave you a lot of movement underneath you, under the throat there. So I think I've covered everything on there for you guys, and look forward to catching up with you soon. I'm going to set this up now and do some cuts on it, and we'll do a little video on that in a short while, follow that up with you. So I'll catch you all soon. Take care.